Hello friends and welcome into NFL Daily. I am your host Tom Downey, breaking down all the latest NFL rumors and some news as well. We begin with Melvin Gordon and what his future actually holds. A couple of new things here really for the Chargers and Gordon. Number one, LA has given Gordon permission to go out and seek a trade with other NFL teams. They also, in this really the same time of timing here, said they have tabled contract extensions or contract talks, and there will be no extension until the end of the year. Add it all up together, I think Melvin Gordon has overplayed his hand. I think he's made a mistake in his contract negotiations with the LA Chargers. Now, previous reports indicated that the Chargers were offering Gordon about $10 million a year, somewhere in that range, but Gordon apparently wanted a little bit more like the David Johnson deal, more in the $13 million range. Two sides didn't agree, and Melvin Gordon chose to hold out. Here's the problem. Is Melvin Gordon really worth $13 million per year? I don't think that he is. I don't think that Melvin Gordon is a top 3, top 4 highest paid back in the NFL. Now, if you bring him in at $10 million as a top 4 highest paid back, and then once Zeke gets paid, it doesn't really matter in the end, well, that's a different conversation. I think $10 million was fair. Gordon wanted more, though, and the Chargers do have some depth at the running back position. Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson. Are those guys as good as Melvin Gordon? No, of course not. But they can produce. They can get the Chargers by at, frankly, a fraction of the cost. I think Melvin Gordon should have taken that $10 million there and, frankly, been happy with it there. Instead, the Chargers are like, yeah, go find a trade, knowing he's not going to. And on top of that, saying, at least claiming, I don't know if I actually believe them, because I think if Gordon came back and said, hey, I'll do 10 or 9, I think the Chargers would sign him up at that point. I think the Chargers are like, yeah, Gordon, go out and see what you can get, knowing the answer is going to be, sorry, Melvin, but no thanks. So with all this in mind, what team will Melvin Gordon play for in 2020? That is next year. Not this coming year. I think he stays with the Chargers. But let's say it's free agency. Where does Melvin Gordon end up? Let me know in the comments section where you think Gordon will play next season. We'll stick on some more news around Melvin Gordon, namely, Melvin Gordon followed the Eagles on Instagram, and social media was like, wow, confirmed he's going to Philadelphia. Here's the thing, though. Number one, trading for Melvin Gordon and paying him $12 million per year isn't really the Eagles' MO. They just drafted Miles Sanders. They signed Jordan Howard as well, or traded for Jordan Howard. They brought back Darren Sproles. They have Corey Clement. Frankly, they had too many backs to begin with. That's why they cut Josh Adams and Wendell Smallwood. Boston Scott did make it all the way down to the practice squad, by the way. And I'll make note as well, these are not the only teams Melvin Gordon followed on Instagram. So for all this chaos about Gordon followed the Eagles on Instagram, here's who else he followed, not necessarily at the exact same time, but his most recent follows. The Eagles, the Oakland Raiders, the Atlanta Falcons. I saw some fans, people freak out about Gordon, the 49ers. The best one, though, and this is the giveaway, the Edmonton Eskimos. I don't know why we're freaking out about Gordon going to Philly. It's very obvious to me. Melvin Gordon's going to the CFL. Done deal, lock it in. He followed the Edmonton Eskimos on Instagram. It's going to happen. Just get ready for Melvin Gordon, CFL superstar. All right, guys, make sure you are subscribed to us here on Chat Sports. Get us to 150K. That is the big number we have in mind. If you like the NFL, we're going to keep you covered all offseason long on everything going on around the NFL. And with the offseason over, in season, of course, too. So everything you want in the NFL, we got you covered right here on Chat Sports. Moving now to Dez Bryant, the name who just will not go away. Now, Bryant says, he told Jane Slater of NFL Network, he wants to return in mid-October, which is very similar to what Dez did last year. Took some time off, got his mind right. Unfortunately, his body ended up failing him. Now Dez coming off the torn Achilles and having not played since 2017, how much interest is Dez Bryant really going to have? I think some teams should take a flyer on him like the Saints did, but I think New Orleans still makes a lot of sense. The team liked him. The front office liked him. I think he and Sean Payton got along pretty well. So I think New Orleans would have first dibs, and I think that could work out again. But I don't know if Dez is really going to have a bunch of interest in him. And I think it's understandable why. He's not the same guy he was in his prime, and Achilles injuries aren't the easiest to truly come back from. So here's my question for all of you watching right now. Will Dez Bryant play in the NFL again? Type Y for yes, type N for no. If you're typing in Y for yes, I'll give you another thing to do. Let me know which team you have in mind. I think a team gives Dez Bryant another chance, but you're not going to see prime Dez Bryant, unfortunately. Some more NFL news items here. So the rosters are churning. They're changing here as we get to the week 1 of the NFL season after roster cuts. Brian Hoyer has a new NFL team. It is the Indianapolis Colts, a 3-year, $12 million deal with 9 of that guaranteed. Now, the report from Ian Rappaport was that the Patriots did have some interest in Brian Hoyer and bringing him back. However, they were only offering a 1-year deal. The 33-year-old is going to turn 34 this season. Instead, gets $9 million guaranteed by the Colts, who desperately needed a backup quarterback. They had Jacoby Brissett. Philip Walker is not that good. He's not on the practice squad. And yes, they have Swag Kelly, but Chad Kelly is suspended for the first 2 games of the season. Brian Hoyer comes in, gives the Colts, I think, a fairly needed veteran presence for a young Jacoby Brissett and a young Chad Kelly. Funny enough, Brissett and Hoyer, former Patriots quarterbacks. Figures how that works out there. So with Andrew Luck retired, I don't think I'm spoiling that for him. I think everyone knows by now. Will the Colts make the playoffs? Type 1 for yes or 2 for no. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I don't think they will. I think they're actually going to be kind of caught in no man's land where they're going to win some games. They will be a much better team than the last time we saw Jacoby start for them. I just don't think they're going to be Super Bowl contender like they were with Andrew Luck. Speaking of the Patriots, let's head over to New England. Some roster moves for them at wide receiver. N'Keal Harry is going on IR. Now, his season is not necessarily over. He's dealt with an ankle issue. He can return to the team after 8 weeks. Once that happens, he's eligible to come back and rejoin the squad. And a familiar face has returned to New England as well. That is Demaryius Thomas. He is coming in to take N'Keal Harry's place on the active roster. And I'm very curious what the Patriots get out of Demaryius Thomas. His 2014 numbers were even better than his 2015 numbers. But that's the red flag, right? A steady downward regression is not what you typically want if you're a receiver. So I don't know how great Demaryius Thomas is going to be, but they do have options at wide receiver. Now, there are some injuries, of course. Harry's on IR. Cameron Meredith is on the PUP list. You have Julian Edelman, who's going to be your number 1 guy, even though he's a slot. I know. Philip Dorsett brings you some speed. I'm a big fan of Jacoby Myers. There's Flash Gordon still on the roster. We'll see what he does. And then Slater is more of a special teamer, quite frankly. So I am very curious how it all fits together, especially with some holes at tight end. But the Patriots, as long as they have Tom Brady and a good ground game and a solid offensive line, they're going to be just fine on offense. Let's move now to the Minnesota Vikings. Stick with our theme of receivers here. The Vikings have agreed to a deal with Josh Doctson, formerly of the Washington Redskins. He was cut by the Redskins after they tried and failed to trade him. I kind of like this fit a lot. I thought Seattle would have been a good fit for Josh Doctson, but Minnesota makes sense as well because they had Laquan Treadwell, and they were like, scratch that, cut him. They go to Doctson instead, who, by the way, gets a second chance also with his old quarterback in Kirk Cousins. These were Dockson's numbers last year. More production, at least, than Laquan Treadwell, although the Redskins were they were out on him as a future piece of that offense. This gives the Vikings 5 wide receivers and a bunch of question marks after the top 2. Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, that's one of the best 1-2 punches at wide receiver in the NFL. But Chad Beebe and BZ Johnson and now Doctson, we'll see how that looks. I think you'll see quite a few 2 tight end sets run in Minnesota. Back to some potential free agent moves. How about Orlando Scandrick, who was cut by the Eagles after the preseason ended? And although there reportedly is some interest in Philadelphia to bring him back, he's going to visit with the Houston Texans first. Now, Houston, they have overhauled the roster this offseason, really this preseason, which is funny because Bill O'Brien is now in charge. He has gone after some veterans. Scandrick fits that mold. They have Bradley Roby at 1 cornerback, Jonathan Joseph, frankly Aaron Colvin, has been a little bit of a disappointment in Houston. Lonnie Johnson is not ready yet. He's still very raw. Same with Xavier Crawford. Crossan's more of a nickel special team type guy there. So if you want to bring in some veteran presence along with Joseph, I do think Scandrick makes some sense. Now, frankly, Scandrick does not have that much time left in the NFL. He's older. But it's trivia time here. So who is the oldest player right now in the NFL? I will not give it away. I'll give credit to the first person in the comments who gets it right. Let me know who is the oldest player in the NFL right now. Of course, these are only for active players who are signed and on a roster. Finally, Josh Jones and the Buffalo Bills, the former second-round pick who demanded a trade, didn't get it, but then got cut, so it was fine anyway. It's funny to me that's how it all worked out in the end because no one wanted Josh Jones. However, the Bills are going to visit with him, so I guess I should say no one wanted to trade for Josh Jones. Now, there is still talent with Jones, but he has not lived up to expectations. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery, and I think Buffalo could actually be a pretty decent fit for the former second-round pick.